I should have let the water take him. They're all sour-faced, these priests. Sour-minded, too. He shook his head. Mohammed will have to find somewhere else. There are towns to the east he could set himself up in. Alzagal's power base is Ronda and the west. There are enough places north of Almera that would benefit from a strong hand. Thomas smiled at the judgment in Olaf's words, knowing he didn't believe Mohammed was the strong-hand Garnator or any other city needed. As the last of the group crossed, the two of them stood and watched the soldiers come down from the ridge. "They could catch us within the hour if they wanted," said Olaf. "If they want. They waited patiently enough up there until we were all across. An attack while we were scattered would have made more sense." Olaf glanced at him. "Tactics? Be careful, Thomas, or I'll think you're after my job." "No chance of that." Olaf rode to the front of the column, which was stretched out, some hurrying ahead, others still gathering themselves after crossing the gully. Thomas mounted his horse and found Jorge, fell into step beside him. They remained that way as the afternoon drifted into evening. Occasionally Thomas slowed and turned in his saddle. The followers had reached the gully, but instead of crossing they turned north and climbed the hillside, eventually disappearing from sight. "Do you think they've arranged accommodation?" asked Jorge as they entered under low walls, still showing signs of the battle to take the town. The houses were built around a low, conical hill, topped by a small castle. The Spanish flag flew from the ramparts, other banners flapping and cracking in the southerly wind. The low cloud that had hung over them all day was finally clearing, and the night would be cold. "We'll all have a place," Thomas said, "depending on our status." "Ah, a barn then, if we're lucky." Thomas smiled. "That castle, I reckon. This is a Spanish town now, and it's they who invited us." Spanish the town might be, but it wasn't obvious. Street corners still held stone butts of clean water. Islamic script decorated the walls and doorways, and the inhabitants wore Moorish dress, more suited to the landscape. Only the mosque was changed. Masons had chipped religious texts from the walls and erected a rough stone cross beside the entrance. "Gods, I need a bath," said Jorge. "Do you think there's any chance?" "There'll still be baths around somewhere. Whether they're allowed to open or let us in is another matter." He watched as Eva dropped from the side of her cart and came across to them. Two men arrived from another direction to take their horses. "Do you want me to show you your lodgings?" said Eva. "The cart driver has a list with all the assignments." "A cart driver who reads," said Jorge. "It is indeed a world of wonders we live in." "Don't judge people by their station in life," said Eva. Her gaze returned to Thomas. "It seems we will get the chance to dine together after all." "I expect someone will send for me," Thomas said, "if we're needed for the talks." Eva smiled, as if humouring him. It was obvious she considered their presence without purpose. "Tell me where we are," said Jorge. "I will dine with you this evening, even if Thomas refuses." He reached to rap Thomas's skull with a knuckle. "Hear that? Empty of sense or logic." Eva afforded Jorge a coy smile that was blatant enough to make Thomas laugh. He raised his hand, turning it into a cough. Eva lifted on her toes while Jorge bent down so she could whisper into his ear. "She's trouble," Thomas said after she'd moved away. "Beautiful trouble," said Jorge. "Exactly how I like it." Thomas cast him a glance, unsure whether to give credence to his words or not. He found Jorge watching Eva weaving between the suddenly crowded square and knew he wasn't joking. He shook his head in wonder at the man's infinite capacity for sensuality. A sudden clatter made him spin around to find 12 horsemen entering the square, the same men who'd watched from the ridge. Olaf stepped forward, his hand on the hilt of his sword, and Thomas matched him, his own arm falling to the blade at his side. The men slowed, dismounted, shaking their legs to restore circulation. They led their mounts away, looking neither left nor right. 2 of them handed their horses to others and climbed the long set of steps toward the castle.